Stop it.
Those bumper chairs.
Stop it.
Welcome to It's the Story of Your Life.
Oh, my life? Hey there.
Hey.
So growing up, you know the story. We had this thing called Ross time, which wasn't a very nice term because what it meant was that there was always a time something started, but then there was a time that the Ross family showed up.
Yes, I do know about that.
Nowadays, the general version of it is just called BPT, right?
If you don't know, just ask somebody.
Yeah. Ask that one black friend you have. So, you know, we always start with the grandest of goals and objectives, like doing this weekly. For those of you who don't know, this hasn't been weekly, but it's because we got jobs, we got obligations, and sometimes those things creep in. But, you know, we're here. We're happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here.
So we just got back from church. And the series that we're in right now is around generosity.
Right.
And I like it because you always give me this look of, where is he going with this?
Where are you going with this?
Where I'm going with this is, you know, generosity and being thankful and not being shy about, you know, the big things that you ask God for. And in return for our obedience, that he blesses us, right? And there's no limit to that. And one of the blessings that we've had and really have been so appreciative of is the opportunity to travel.
Yep.
See how I wrote that all in?
I do.
And one of the ways we like to pay that generosity back, I know a lot of you are like, oh, is he going to take us on a trip? No, we're not going to take you on a trip. But one of the ways is by sharing what we've learned and encouraging others as much as we can to travel as well.
Right. So you can learn from our mistakes and not do that. And you can learn from our successes and incorporate some of those things that we do that make life easier.
Yeah. It's like if they can do it, we can do it.
Yep.
I like your hat.
Thanks.
Very cute.
Somebody got that for me.
Ooh.
Oh, an admirer.
You know, I saw it and I was like, boy, that looks like a traveling hat for a traveling gal.
It does. And did you know that it came with a plastic insert so that it will keep its shape when I travel?
Yes, and I didn't take the plastic insert out. Did you? Or did you put it on first? You're like, this hat's too tight. Why is the plastic on the inside?
I did not put it on with the plastic insert. I did take it out first.
It's a scratchy. What did he get me here? Well, I'm glad you like it.
Yep, very much so.
So there's a couple of topics that have come up frequently on our YouTube channel in the comments, as well as just conversations with folks. And it's all around accommodations. Where do you stay when you go these places that you go to? And I think we've shared with a lot of people that we do a lot of Airbnb stays, and really that's our preference. But this year, I think this is the third or fourth resort. Next week, we're going back to Mexico with some friends this time. So Earl and James Zetta will be with us next week. And we're going to the Grand Lux at the Vedanta Resort in Riviera Maya. Mm-hmm. So I think this will be the third or fourth resort or hotel stay we've had this year, which is totally uncommon for us.
So let's talk about the differences between the Airbnb experience and the hotels.
Well, if you were talking to someone, they said, okay, you guys stay at a lot of Airbnbs. Why? Is it just because it's less expensive?
Well, no, it's not because it's less expensive, although often it is less expensive.
Particularly outside the U.S., when you go to like Eastern Europe or Asia, Mexico, it can be less expensive.
Mm-hmm. So that's a perk for sure. But in addition to being less expensive, one of the things that I love about staying in Airbnbs is that they are often off the beaten track. And because of that, we're in residential sections of the city that we're visiting, and we are just in the thick of things. We're near the local coffee shop, we're near the local grocery store, we have a kitchen if we want to use it, and we do. Every time we go, for the most part, we use the kitchen for leftovers.
Yeah, for leftovers, especially in Mexico. We don't do any cooking. It's like, can we get this to go, por favor? But that is a good point, that it's, we call it the getting off the beaten path, but we're kind of on the beaten path. We're not taking the, driving up and having our car valeted and, the room service every day. It's, for us, a lot of times, the experience is really about just becoming part of the community. And, one of the first things we do is we find a local grocery store. Mm-hmm. And we're not picking up a bunch of things. I mean, if we're there for a week, I think in Mexico, we'll pick up like eggs and bacon, things like that. But as the week goes by, it's less about that and more about leftovers, or, having, beverages at the house and snacks and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it gets a little bit cramped if you're doing that all in the hotel room and trying to use the little, they don't call it a refrigerator anymore, the cooler that they put in the rooms.
Interesting.
Yeah, because remember we were in on the cruise, and they mentioned that it's not a refrigerator. I don't know. They thought, we don't want to get sued. Someone thought I had a refrigerator in my room and it wasn't a refrigerator, but they're actually called just coolers because that's all they do is just cool.
Meaning that you probably shouldn't plan to use them for leftovers, because
be careful about that. Yeah.
So, and the other thing about the hotels.
Of course, digressive.
The other thing about the hotels is that often their refrigerators or coolers are a pay-as-you-go situation.
They're already packed with things anyways.
So not very useful for us.
Yeah.
But we've had pleasant experiences both at hotels and Airbnbs.
We have. I personally have enjoyed the Airbnbs because, like you said, you get there and you have a lot of options. So if you're a large family and you need a lot of room to spread out, that's an option. If you are looking to spend less time in your accommodations and more time out, finding a studio that is in a neighborhood close to where you want to be, you can do that with Airbnb.
Well, that is a good point that you make. Often the Airbnbs that we've chosen have been central to the places that we want to visit.
Yeah, you walk outside your door and right downstairs there's a bakery.
I knew you were going to say that. In Paris. And every morning somebody
hobble down, bonjour, and they're like, we know you're American. Just go ahead and just speak American. But even like in Merida, right, in Mexico, walking down the street and picking up, I remember I went and picked up some eggs and sausages for breakfast that morning because we just didn't feel like going out anywhere. Or, just name the country.
Well, the week that we were in Merida, we ate breakfast and lunch almost every day because we were working, remember?
That's right. We were actually working remote. It was February of...
This year.
Was it this year?
It was.
No.
It was.
You know what it was? Actually, I know what it was. It was November of last year because we went to Merida the first time over Thanksgiving because all the kids were scattered to the four winds. Yeah. That's what it was.
Okay, all right. So it was November of last year.
Yeah.
Okay, but we ate breakfast and many times we had lunch.
Because we were working and it was fine. And people will say, oh my gosh, I don't want to cook on vacation and stuff. It's like, well, one, it wasn't a vacation. But even if it was, I would challenge anyone to be upset with, I had a ham and cheese sandwich at noon sitting by the pool in my house in Merida, Mexico. I don't see...
Well, for us,
about that.
For us, everybody has their own bent, but for us, the simplicity of that is pretty intriguing and pretty attractive.
Now, contrast that to when we have stayed at hotels, and let's say even like the cruise. Well, let's just stick with hotels because cruises are a different story. Do you enjoy the getting up and every other day someone's there to make your room and there's a breakfast buffet downstairs? Do you enjoy that as well?
I do.
Yeah?
I do, but not quite as much.
Really?
Not quite as much.
The timetable? Where you're like, I've got to get up and go down there.
Well, I think I do prefer the independence.
Yeah.
Of being able to just do our own thing whenever we feel like it. And the other part about it that I love, love, love is that the hotels are generally all like, you know, in a cluster, in a location, and it's all people
out of the hotel, the tourist area.
The tourist area. And that's what I meant by off the beaten path, is that we have gone over to the port side. I don't remember what city we were in, but it was where the cruise ships landed.
Yes.
And it was just such a different vibe than where we'd been staying the whole time, because it was all hustle bustle and everybody's moving fast, and there were no locals really to be seen other than the employees. And so my favorite part is always that we are just in the everyday life, just in a different place in the world.
When you said that, the place I thought about was Puerto Rico. We were in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and having a beautiful time, you know, in the old town. And we turned a corner and realized that we were in, you know, the touristy area. And then we saw that's where all the cruise ships landed.
Is that where we were?
I think that's what it was. That was the one that sticks to my mind the most, where it was just such a jarring difference. But, you know, with Airbnbs, you do have to, you know, do a little more work. I think I've figured out that on an average, I'll spend cumulatively altogether.
Cumulatively.
Edit this out later. I'm going to sound so pristine. Anywhere from 4 to 8 hours total in researching Airbnbs. Partly just because it's just I enjoy it, but I can be just a little bit too specific about things, because I want to, you know, see if I can find that location on the map and on Google Maps, or I read all the reviews and everything. But in return, you end up with a place that you literally have crafted your own adventure,
your own experience, and that is a beautiful part about it.
And again, you can find places that are less expensive, sometimes dramatically so, than hotels. I remember when we took our moms and one of our daughters who had just graduated high school. For each of the kids, we take them on a trip wherever they want to go for their after they graduate high school, and she wanted to go to Paris, and so it was 5 of us, and we ended up getting an apartment on the Grand Boulevard in France that was 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, and it was beautiful. And we paid, I think, $250 a night for that place, which was unheard of for everyone. Each of our moms had their own room. Our daughter had her own room. We all had our own baths. And so everyone was extremely comfortable. And I just remember, like, our moms just sitting in their rooms, you know, looking out over the boulevard, because their rooms faced the boulevard, you know, and my mom was like just reading her book and just relaxing there. And that was something, there was no way we could have done that in a hotel.
No way. No. We would have had 2 hotel rooms minimum.
Yeah.
And it would have been cramped. And the other beautiful thing about Airbnbs, where you've got this large space, is that it's an apartment. And so it's furnished like an apartment. So everybody had their own dresser, everybody had their own space, everybody had their own chair. If the 5 of us were even in adjoining rooms, there'd be probably a total of 2 chairs, and it would just not be as comfortable.
Me and 4 women, I never would have taken a shower. It just never would have happened, you know. But we've also stayed in unique places. So I remember, you know, during the pandemic, one of the first things we did, we went down to Atlanta, Georgia, to see one of our kids and his wife, and we stayed in an RV on a horse farm.
Yeah.
So that was a unique experience for us. We've stayed in the geodesic domes down in outside of Guadalupe. And so there's the opportunity to be really specific about where you stay when you do use an Airbnb. But that's not to say that you can't have a good experience at hotels, but it's just a good difference between the two. So We do have a separate video, which you can see up here or here, as well as on our website, b2g.travel, that we go into more specifics about, figuring out which Airbnbs to stay in, because there are some things you want to be aware of. But I thought I'd kind of bring that up as one of the topics, because that's something that comes up a lot when people ask us about accommodations.
Right.
So.
Yep. So we like both.
We do like
because
both.
we like to travel.
Yeah, we're going to be staying at a hotel this coming week. So, oh my gosh. So.
Come on.
But it actually is we'll have a kitchen and everything like that. So we'll have kind of the best of both worlds with Earl and Jamesetta. So looking forward to that.
Yep, for sure.
So we're already into October.
Right.
And we were just remarking that it's been 3 months or 10 weeks since our last big travel.
Right.
So we've been to Chicago for a weekend. We've been to San Francisco for a weekend. But before that, our last big trip was in June, the cruise. And
wasn't that July?
Was it July?
Yeah.
Was that after her wedding?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, it was. It was after the wedding. See, I don't even remember. It was so long ago, but still.
It was a long time ago.
So we're excited to get back out. But
Yep.
this year has been different for us. We were mentioning earlier that it's been a lot more luxury resort type travel. So can you name them off? So we started the year.
Oh boy. January, we went to Merida, right?
Went to Merida and stayed in Progresso on the beach.
Okay.
That was another couples trip that we took with Brian and Delise. So shout out to them.
February, we went to Guatemala, Antigua, and hiked that volcano.
Yes. So you can see that video up here. And then March,
we went to Nevis.
Yep, Nevis, and we stayed at the Four Seasons there.
And so that was our first resort
Yes.
experience this year.
But I told you after Guatemala and hiking the volcano, I said the rest of the year, the highest thing I'm going to climb will be into a king size bed. And
he has been faithful to that promise. Okay, so that was March. For April
then was the cruise, right?
The cruise was in July.
Okay, it wasn't the cruise. April was.
We need a list of these.
Yeah.
One moment, please.
So we're going to go look on a handy dandy TripIt app. Mm-hmm. So let's take a look here. We should make this a quiz. And I'm sure there's people going, oh, they can't remember all the places they've been. Oh my gosh. So April
was
the Maldives. How do we forget that? How did we forget that? Oh my gosh. So
that was for our anniversary.
We should cut this right now. Since I'm like, if I went to the Maldives, I will remember every moment for the rest of my life. I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, when was April? No, I don't think we went anywhere. So our apologies for that. It was a memorable vacation.
It was, and it was definitely another resort luxury experience.
It was.
So I'm glad you've got TripIt open though.
Yeah, I know.
So April we went to the Maldives.
And then May we went to Nashville.
Okay.
And then June one of our daughters got married.
Right, we didn't go anywhere.
Had princess wedding in June, so we were verboten to go anywhere.
Right.
And she even freaked out that we're going to Nashville a couple weeks before our wedding.
Right.
But we all survived. And then July was the cruise. Mm-hmm. And then
nothing.
Really, August and September were just weekend trips.
Yep.
So this will.
You never take me anywhere.
I know. I'm sorry. I'll do better. But we're back. We're back next week. Going to Riviera Maya.
I am super excited about it.
I am too, and mostly I'm excited because we're going with another couple
that we've wanted to travel with for a long time.
So if you want to travel with us, send an email to hello@b2g.travel, and we'll see what we work out. Extra points if you let us know if you're a stalker or.
Oh no!
Or anything like that, just so we can kind of know.
Okay.
It's good to know up front.
Yeah, right.
So the rest of the year we've got Mexico coming up, and then we're ending the year in Vietnam.
We are. Now, I have a quick question about this trip. Is this trip one of the weeks for our timeshare that you switched out?
It is. It is. So about 8 years or so ago, I had an opportunity to visit some relatives that had a timeshare down in Florida at Mystic Dunes, which at that time was part of Diamond Resorts. Mm-hmm. And in staying with them, I became familiar with Mystic Dunes and really liked it. It's a very nice resort community just down the road from all things Orlando. And so the next year, like a lot of people, I got one of these things in the mail saying, "Hey, come here and experience our timeshare for $199 or something like that." And I did, and I enjoyed it. And it got me thinking because I just couldn't understand and justify spending tens of thousands of dollars.
So that $199 allowed you to come and stay and enjoy the resort in exchange for a sales presentation?
Sales presentation of a couple hours. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting there and the person was talking and for those of you who've gone through this before, they'll start at a certain price and then they'll say, but if you buy today, they'll lower the price.
Right.
And I remember thinking in my mind, and I actually expressed to them, I said, the fact that just in this 15 minutes you've lowered the price causes me concern, because if the price is able to drop that quickly, that
drastically,
doesn't sound like a good deal.
No.
Fast forward, we had an opportunity to start looking at timeshares and decided to look at the resale market. And on the resale market, what you're doing is you're buying out someone's existing timeshare. They've already paid the upfront costs, in some cases $10, $15, $20, $30, $50,000.
You're right.
And what they're asking is that for a nominal fee, which is usually the cost of the title transfer, you will then take over and then have responsibility solely for the maintenance fees, which are basically the property taxes and maintenance for the community.
So one question that people often ask is, are timeshares a scam?
The short answer is timeshares themselves are not a scam. The companies that are selling the timeshares to you, perhaps, as a lawyer once told me, they may be ethical, but they're not necessarily being moral. And the reason for it is that their focus is getting these things sold. Mm-hmm. And so what you're typically doing is you're paying down their costs of building out the place, and then the regular maintenance for it. And what we wanted to do was to opt out of taking that first hit. It's kind of like buying a used car. Someone has already paid the majority of the cost towards it.
The depreciation.
The depreciated value.
Right.
Or the value before the depreciation.
Right.
And now you're just paying for the upkeep, and that's what we chose to do. And it just so happens by doing so with our property being part of Diamond Resorts, they were then bought by Hilton Grand Vacations last year. But we had the ability to exchange. Mm-hmm. Long way around to answering your question. And in exchanging, one of the opportunities we had was staying at some great resorts, and that's what we're doing next week.
Yes. There are resorts that we can exchange for all over the world too, isn't there?
Yeah. And for us, our yearly fee is, I believe, like $1,800 for it. And for that, we actually have a 1 week ownership of a 3-bedroom, 3-bath condominium there at Mystic Dunes for 1 week a year.
And the beauty for us is that we can actually split that up, because when the two of us travel, we don't need 3 bedrooms or 3 bathrooms. Yeah. And so we can split that into more than 1 week. So that $1,800 for us translates to more than 1 week, which is wonderful.
It's been wonderful. So, and in fact, we ourselves have only stayed at our home property one time. We've gifted it to a family member for 1 year. Then we combined 2 years and took a large portion of our family, because then we had 6 bedrooms and 6 baths, and that was Great, as you expect with bringing a large family. You had the greats and the not so greats, but it was an experience that we do remember.
It was wonderful that we were able to do that, though.
It was.
That was a great.
All joking aside, it was great.
That was a great part of having the timeshare available.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then we've gifted it to two more of our kids. Actually, we've gifted the timeshare week to two of our kids, and in both cases, they've actually stayed at other resorts in Mexico as part of that. Mm-hmm. So timeshares are one of those things where you need to do your homework. And first off, if it's a place that you are specifically interested in, try staying there first on your own. Most of these can be rented through, say, Travelocity or Expedia, and that's a great opportunity to kind of say, is this some place that I really want to come back to? Is this an accommodation that I want to come back to?
I've seen them too on VRBO.
Have you really? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that, in fact, that might be the actual timeshare owners that are renting out their week to other people.
Yep. They can't make it, so they're just renting out.
Airbnb. There's a website called Red Week as well that you can do that. But that's a good first experience. Is make sure that this is a place that you want to basically invest in.
So, do you recommend retail or aftermarket?
Always aftermarket. And let's go back to the example of cars, right? If you buy a car off the lot, understandably, some people appreciate, they want that new car smell, but you are paying the cost for that car depreciating over time. And once you drive it off the lot, once you have bought into that timeshare, the value of that decreases immediately. And I distinctly remember, and we'll talk about our own timeshare presentations that we've been to, that you can sit there and while you're listening to them, go on to, say, eBay and actually look up that specific property and look up and see who is selling the actual points or the deeded week that they're offering to you at retail and see how much it's being sold for at that time. And that becomes a really stark reality of, I am dramatically overpaying for this. And I need to figure out a way to get out of this. When is the 2 hours over so I can get out of here?
Right. Absolutely. And to your point, we have made it very clear when we've gone to our presentations that we agreed to come for 60 minutes and timer starts now kind of thing. We'll give you 60 minutes and then we'll be on our merry way, and we'll be up front and also let the salesman know that we're very happy with our situation, that we're very happy with our travel, and that we are not looking to increase anything with them at this time, but we have obligated ourselves a couple of times to go for sales presentations.
Yeah, we did one last year in Vegas. I actually happened to be there for work, so we stayed at a Hilton hotel for work, and then we decided to stay. Took vacation time and just switched over to the hotel where the presentation was at, and in exchange for I think $199 and an hour, maybe even 2 hours of our time, they also gave us 50,000 Hilton points, which was worth about $300. And so now the first thing we tell them is that, just so you know, Stephanie is a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. And we already are an owner that we bought off resale. You have 2 hours of your time. Good luck. And I remember the last time, after about a little over an hour, he's like, you guys are free to leave whenever you want.
He could see he wasn't going to get anywhere with us, and that's a hard sell. It's a really hard sell to try to sell a property that you could get off of eBay for pennies on the dollar.
Right. Okay. Well, Team Ross. So he's done with us. In fact, he asked, let me go ahead and check you guys out now. So the manager guy's going to come over now and let us go. So
yeah, we're checked out.
Yeah. Math is a funny thing. You can't fight math.
You cannot fight math. That is absolutely true. So I own a timeshare. Can I get out of it?
Yes, but it's going to cost you. And that's why it's really important to be very thoughtful about whether purchasing a timeshare, whether retail or on the secondary market, is something you really want to make that investment in. There are a lot of companies that will advertise that they can get you out of your timeshares. We don't have any experience with them ourselves, obviously, but like anything else, you're going to have to pay to get out of that. Again, I'll go back to the metaphor of buying a car. There's going to be some cost you're going to incur to get out of that, because they ultimately need to find someone who's going to take over your timeshare. So we would encourage you that if you do plan on pursuing buying a timeshare retail, to make the investment in having an attorney look it over to make sure that you fully understand what you're getting into. A loss of a job, a loss of a spouse, surprisingly, do not automatically get you out of this, because you are buying you're buying a part of a real estate deal.
Right.
And so that is a complicated thing to get out of.
It is a complex legal matter.
Yes, it is.
So owning a timeshare is arguably more complicated than just owning a house.
It really is, because you have to find someone who, particularly if you've not paid off the cost of the timeshare itself, you're going to have to find someone to take that over or pay some significant penalty back to the company to do so. I've heard people talk about just walking away from them, but they will come back. They can come back and ultimately sue you for what is owed.
And it's devastating potentially.
It could be stress
to your credit score.
Absolutely.
Also, to renege on something like that. You can't just renege on a contract because you are signing a contract. Now, is the cost risk for getting out of a timeshare significantly reduced if you buy on the aftermarket?
It is. And I'll tell you what we do. So as I mentioned, right now, our maintenance and fees every year is about $1,800. So we can always look and go on to say, in fact, you can do so right now. If you go on to Expedia and look at a 3-bedroom, 3-bath lock-off and say, okay, if I had that for 7 days, 6 nights, how much would that cost be? Okay, that cost is pretty similar to what we pay. And that's a comforting feeling, knowing that at any point we could turn this around and say, no, we're going to put it up on eBay and we're going to sell it to someone for the cost of the title transfer,
right?
And it's theirs. So those are the type of things you want to look at and say, is this a property I'm really excited about for myself, that I want to stay here? Does it have a good exchange program? And is this something that if I do decide that I don't want it anymore, that I can get out of it relatively easy, on the secondary market?
And I think also, since there are the opportunities to rent on VRBO, then there's probably the opportunity to be the person who is renting it out. So if there ever was a year that we couldn't find somebody that we wanted to gift it to, or we didn't want to take it, we could make the money back by renting it out for the week as an Airbnb.
Yeah, now in our case, we usually just we'll bless somebody with it, or we'll just
roll it
over and roll it for the next week. But there are others that will find a great deal, and they'll say, instead of buying one, I'm going to buy 2. And now they have that convenience of saying, I can rent this out, and that helps cover the cost for the other. So there's ways to do this, but the important thing is it's not something to go into lightly. And the what they always say is that you're paying for your vacation, your future vacations, and the reality is you really aren't. You're kind of committing yourselves to a cost, to a place that you may find out that doesn't fit what your family needs in the future. And when they say that this is something you can give to your kids as part of your inheritance, don't do that to your children. When we decide that we're done with it, we're going to put it back on the secondary market and be done with it, because it's there's a lot of fallacies that go with this. But
right, as an inherited deed with an $1,800 a year maintenance, and it's not worth anything to sell.
Right. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Right. Yeah. You better, if you're going to leave that as a legacy, you better leave a nice hefty account that those kids can use to pay the maintenance fee every year.
But of all the videos that we have, this is one of the ones that the other videos we have on timeshares has the highest number of views. So it's a topic that people are very interested in, and feel free down in the comments to let us know other questions and comments you have about it. But that does lead us to one question that we got earlier this week from our friends at RV Seeing You. So they asked about, so they watched our video on Delta and the change that they've made, and they started by it's like hold my warm nuts, which watch the video, you'll see. Kelly and I recently opened, AA Barclays accounts and received 50,000 points. Woo! Any pointers on ways to maximize the card? We still feel that the American Airlines Barclay Red Aviator Abracadabra card is one of the lowest threshold cards to get, because rather than having to have a $1,000, $5,000, $6,000 spend in order to get the points,
right? You
literally just have to make 2 purchases. That's it.
I thought it was 1.
Is it 1? But the point is that you could go out and just buy a pack of gum and boom, you had the $95 annual fee and you've got 50,000 points. But the question then becomes, what do I do with this?
Right.
So there's 2 ways to look at this. For some people, that 50,000 points gets them to where they want to go. You can find some really good deals on American Airlines for about 12,500 points, can get you, in some cases, coast to coast on American Airlines in economy for a domestic flight. So being able to have 2 people go round trip, that would be a good use of those 50,000 points. For others, it's the start of a path towards a dream vacation. Mm-hmm. And so there's 3 things to kind of think about when you have points that you're trying to accumulate or miles or accumulating with American Airlines. The first is, and this is a no-brainer, just try to make sure that you're using that card whenever you're making your trips, purchasing your trips on the American Airlines website. Well,
one of the perks for booking and using that card is the free checked bag.
Correct. You'll get the free checked bags. Up to, I think, 4 individuals that are traveling with you also take advantage of that. We did this past week where we were able to take James, Etta, and Earl that are traveling with us. They paid for their flight separately. They took advantage of their own American Airlines card to do so. But because I have the status, we were able to call American Airlines and add them onto our itinerary. So effectively, they have a platinum status and they get the benefits of being able to select, premium economy seats for the flights.
Right. And I think, do we get 2 free check bags instead of 1?
2 free check bags instead of 1, which is also another benefit that you get.
And this trip, we may want to take advantage of it if we want to go shopping.
Yes. Yeah, I think me and Earl are going to have 2 empty bags we're carrying with us just for what the ladies are going to bring back, and that's perfectly okay. But the other thing that you think about is, okay, apart from traveling, and again, the other part is that not only for airfare, but on the American Airlines website, they do have a portal for purchasing hotels as well as car rentals through their site. Just be sure that you're getting a really good deal, because sometimes the prices for those items are more expensive than, say, going to directly to the hotel or through Expedia or even, say, other credit card portals like Chase. But that's probably the easiest way to stay within the American Airlines ecosystem and gain points. A couple of other ways that can actually accelerate the number of points or miles that you're getting are through 2 shopping portals that support American Airlines. The first one is called Simply Miles. And think of Simply Miles as kind of like a Rakuten, where on that site you'll find businesses that are selling their products or services. And by buying into those deals, they'll have a certain number of points that they'll give you, in addition to the miles that you'll get from doing the purchase itself. So, for example, we have a subscription with Wink for wines. And when we first signed up, they gave us, I believe it was like 5,000 miles for signing up. And that was in addition to the $49 a month for the wine. So you can check that box, and then once you're done and you've drank all the wine you want to drink, then you cancel, but you've got the wine. So that's one site to look at. The other is the American Advantage shopping portal. That one's a little bit easier because they also have a Google Chrome extension that will let you know when you're on a website that by doing a purchase, you'll also accumulate miles. For us, there's two things that we've taken advantage of that with. One is with Samsung. So a few years ago, we bought Samsung Chromebooks for three of our daughters, all of our daughters, for Christmas.
Well, we've got bonus daughters now.
We've got bonus daughters now. So, Amanda, you're getting a Chromebook.
And Cammie and Natalie.
And Natalie. Chromebooks for everybody. You get a Chromebook. You get a Chromebook.
Yeah.
I'm just saying all this. We need a lawyer. But the thing is that by doing so, not only did we get the points for making the purchase on the American Airlines card, but they also gave us, I think, something like 10,000 additional. I keep saying points, but miles.
Miles, right?
So, didn't do anything differently than we normally would. The easiest one for us on a daily basis is with Walmart. So with Walmart, every time we go to Walmart online, I'll get a little pop-up that says, hey, click here to sign in to your American Airlines shopping portal, and they give you $1 per or 1 mile per dollar that you spend. So doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're saving up for that dream vacation, this is a great way to start accumulating miles just from doing the things you would do on a normal basis.
Yep.
So
very good.
Wow.
Well,
We covered a lot today.
we did cover a lot today.
So I hope you all think it's worth it. It's like, oh my gosh, they haven't been on for 3 weeks, but it was worth it. Or maybe not. Let us know in the comments.
All right.
But thank you all for watching this podcast, and we're off to get packing and get ready for our next trip. As we said before, if you enjoy this content, clicking the like button doesn't cost you anything, but we really appreciate it.
We do. Subscribe.
Subscribe. Lets us know that you like to see more of our content. And if you follow, you'll get the notifications when we do put these up, which should be every week, but who knows?
We like to keep you guessing.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and happy travels.
Take care.
Bye-bye.